Here today we have the MultiCam 5000 series CNC router. This particular model is the 5204 plate frame. This has the 5x10 table. As you can see here, the 4 pneumatic zone vacuum table. Of course, the MultiCam easy to use handheld keypad, a 12 position rotary tool changer, a monster 16 horsepower spindle, and we're going to give you the choice of the original 35 horsepower vacuum pump. That's the regen blower style. Or you can upgrade to a brand new 10 horsepower Becker rotary vane vacuum pump. We're going to give you those two options. The original pump, the 35 horse, that is a high voltage 480 volt, and the Becker is dual voltage. You can set that up either way. The machine is the 208, 230 volt, 3-phase. And as I mentioned here in this view, you can see that monster 16 horsepower Omlat spindle. That also, we'll zoom in here, you can see it has a air blast built into the dust shroud. You can control that with a valve, that is included. So you can point some air on that kerf, agitate the dust, and also keep that tool debris free. If you can't already tell, this machine was very well taken care of. We've got more documentation than we've ever seen. Here's the original QC from the factory. We have CDs and books on the different drives and electrical components. We've got the full schematic list. That's the whole wiring diagram and breakdown by category of the machine. This is in original condition. Probably never even been used. Let's see, what else do we have here? We've got, like I said, the original user's manual. And I have a PDF version of that we can include as well. And then something we rarely see here is a user-generated maintenance log. So the user puts in all the information, every little thing they've done, anytime they changed any oil, lubricated any bearing, it's all in there. Basically service records for your CNC. And then check out this Omlat spindle documentation. Look how thick this handbook is just for the spindle, just for that spindle. That's a 16 horsepower liquid cooled spindle. And of course, this whole book is included. One more thing I almost forgot to mention is those packing photos. Let me zoom out here, you can see that. These are the original packing photos that the factory took when they first shipped this machine. So again, those are included as well. There's a closer look at the 4 pneumatic vacuum zone buttons and the MultiCam keypad in premium condition. Again, this machine is super clean. And then I'll zoom in back here. That's the new 10 horsepower Becker vacuum pump. That is an optional upgrade we're offering with this machine. Of course, this is an all-servo drive machine in X, Y, and Z, high-powered servos, rapid traverse over 2,200 inches per minute. It has the new castings on the Z-axis, the pneumatic assist, the large size ball screw, so upgraded from the previous 5000 series design for sure. One thing I always do is do a high-speed park. I'll go on the Y-axis as well. When I'm evaluating a machine, this is one of the first things I do. I'm listening for any rattles, any noises, and this one is whisper quiet, as you can tell. Again, this is almost silent. Now, if the motors aren't installed properly, or there's a lot of wear and tear on the motors and gears, you'll hear some slop. You'll hear some banging around and some grinding, especially if those bearings are getting old. But again, this one is very fresh and sounds very clean. We're going to take this small piece of solid surface, we're going to throw it on an open table. You can instantly see how much vacuum that is. I'm about to cut my hand open before I can move this piece. And it's a pretty small piece, and the entire table is wide open. That's a giant vacuum leak. Just shows you how much vacuum and how much suction we have. even with just the smaller 10 horsepower Becker vacuum pump. Okay, very quickly we're going to show you just how easy it is to set your Z0 point on a MultiCam. We simply hit our set surface button, then we jog down a little bit until we are close, and then simply hold the 0 button. It'll automatically set that position for you, and now the machine knows where the top of our table is. Okay, now we're going to step through an actual real-life job here. We're going to go to our job files, open up our folders, and here you're going to see different folder names like Please Subscribe and To My Channel. Under the Please Subscribe folder, we have RAM Sintra. And here is a preview. Now on these newer machines, you have a graphical keypad. So we're actually looking at that, how it's going to be laid out on the table. Here on the bottom is our 00, and there's the full 4x8 sheet shown there. So if I like that, I can go ahead and hit Start. It'll load the file, look for any out of bounds or errors, and then you can hit Start again to execute. Now we'll begin cutting out this job. Now as I started cutting here, I noticed right away the brushes were a little bit lower than I like. So the nice thing about the MultiCam is I can hit the pause button in the middle of a job, and I can adjust the dust brush height. And I'll do that now. Machine paused, the dust shroud lifts up. Now I can take this 5mm Allen wrench, and it's just these two bolts right here, loosen those up and then slide that bar up or down. Okay, with the dust brushes adjusted slightly, I'm getting a little bit better results. I don't like to push those brushes into the table. You can see here on the keypad, we're running this tool at 160 inches per minute and 12,000 RPM. This is an 1/8 inch spiral O-flute tool, and specifically the 63-710 from Ontrude. And that does come with a 1/4 inch shank, so you can use 1/4 inch collets, but it is an 1/8 inch tool. Okay, we're almost done. I am doing this in 2 passes, probably not necessary for the larger parts, but I like to ensure on a job like this that I'm not going to lose any parts, so I usually do an onion skin on almost all the parts. You can see very good edge quality. It might be hard to catch that on camera, but we're getting a good chip. We're keeping the tool cool. Now on this particular machine, we'll show you this first G that came out. Very clean, very nice edges. And one thing you'll notice is I'm not going very deep. In fact, I can be so accurate that I can cut just to the paper backing on the other side of this sintra. So that's what you're seeing there. That's the film on the back side. Has one side has a scratch-resistant film for protection. I can cut down to that film, so I still maintain the whole vacuum, and then I actually had to peel this part off of the backing. So that's one trick to hold these smaller parts down really well, is to cut just to the backing, but not through the backing. Look how small this is. I think this is a punctuation mark for another part of the sign. But that's a really small part, and we're holding that down with no issues. Another feature I love about the MultiCam is it keeps a track of all the jobs you did that day. So in my list here, it shows this one job, and it shows a total time of 20 minutes. Again, that 20 minutes was for 2 passes for the whole sheet. Here we're running some parts with the dust shroud up, so you can see what kind of chip this makes. This is at that 160 inches a minute and 12,000 RPM. Using that Ontrude O-flute bit. Okay, and these letters came out great. As you can see here, it might be hard to catch the edge quality on camera, but super smooth, super clean, just does a great job with this kind of work. Okay, we're going back into the jobs folder, going down to RAM foam, and again, if we hit enter instead of start, we get a graphical preview. It's basically the same file, but this time in 1.5 inch foam. We're using a longer bit, an 1/8 inch tool. We're going to do a tool change now. There's a 3/4 inch tool on the right, and now we're going all the way to an 1/8 inch tool on this job. Now we're going to get into some harder materials. This is 3/4 inch MDF with a white melamine bottom and a glossy laminate top, kind of an acrylic glossy top. Under the please subscribe folder, we're going to go to glossy engrave. And here we're going to hit enter to see a preview again. And that's just a whole bunch of engravings. We've got logos that we're going to put on these panels. So we're going to put this main tool away and grab our engraving tool. And as you're watching, this 12-position automatic tool changer does a quick job of changing out tools. Tool calibration is handled from the keypad. We'll do that automatically for you. It'll store that in memory until it's time to change out the tool. If you're curious, Vantage is the name of our premier edge banding line that we offer, and we'll be coming out with more videos showcasing that machine very soon. Okay, now that the engraving is done, it's time to cut these panels out. To do this, we're using a 3/8 compression cutter. This is the 60-123 MW from Ontrude Cutter. And to figure out the speeds, we simply use a chip load calculator. So we're balancing the RPM, the feed rate, and the 2 flutes on this compression cutter. And if you plug that into the equation to get the proper chip load for MDF, we're looking at 650 inches a minute at 15,000 RPM. If you're not familiar with a chip load calculator, I'll go ahead and put one on screen here below and a link in the description of this video. Of course, we could also increase the feed rate to 750 inches per minute and also increase our RPM from 15,000 to 18,000. That would also give us that key chip load we're looking for, which is right about 22 thousandths or 0.022 for MDF. As you can see here on the keypad, 650 inches a minute, 15,000 RPM, and 2,200 inches a minute rapid traverse. One of the biggest mistakes people make is running the tool at the incorrect speed that generates too much heat. And generally that's running it too slow. And what you'll see is a blacking and a charring on the edges of the carbide, and that just kills the life of these tools. These tools want to run fast and they want to run cool. And a good way to do that is to run at the proper chip load using a chip load calculator. Just like that, these panels are complete. They've got the engraving, they're cut out, and they've got a really nice, crisp, clean edge. We can come over to the keypad. I can go to utilities and look at job time. If I zoom in a little bit, you can read that. 6 minutes, 15 seconds for the cutouts, and that's with 2 passes. So if we did 1 pass, which we probably could have gotten away with on these, it would have been about 3 minutes for those parts. What you're seeing now is I went ahead and took the rest of the material, cut that up as well. That way we get as many panels as possible. And I'll come over here after cutting another 4 or 5 pieces. And again, it's not even warm. The tool feels like it wasn't even used. And that's what you're looking for. A nice, cool tool will keep the life and the production up on that tool. Okay, now we're cutting some plastic here. First, we're drilling some holes that are just over an 1/8 inch in diameter. So I'm using that same 1/8 inch cutter I used on the black Sintra earlier. And one thing we didn't talk about is dust collection. I'm getting very good dust collection. We have nice brushes on this machine. It has a great collar system where it covers that up and concentrates that dust well. And I'm only using a very old 3 horsepower dust collector. Just goes to show you, with an efficient manifold and good brushes, you don't have to have a 10 or 20 horsepower dust collector. And I'll let you know, a great resource I use is plasticrouting.com. And they'll give you a great baseline of feeds and speeds to work with. They've actually done a ton of testing on their tools, and in clear acrylic, they recommend 75 inches a minute at 18,000 RPM, and I'm finding great results with that today. Panning over here, you're going to see this tower, full Windows PC with monitor, wireless keyboard and mouse, and of course Enroute 6 Pro. That's a $6,500 software, brand new version, brand new license included with this machine. Of course, the tool tightening stand you see there mounted on the left side of the machine, that's included as well, as we're watching this machine finish up this job. Again, really good dust collection. I'm using this little roll-around unit in the back. My main dust collector is in the far corner, and that's used for my new CNC routers that I have there in the back of the shop. This is the plate frame design, so that's 3/8 thick steel all around is that frame on the machine. This is a 5,000 pound plus machine. And now we'll take a look at this edge. We'll try to get the camera to show this. There we go, we can zoom in a little bit there. Very clean edge. I did a finishing pass where I took off 0.015 inches, 15 thousandths of an inch on a finishing pass. And that gives me a great finish. You can't see any tool marks on there. It's very smooth. And like I said, 75 inches a minute, 18,000 RPM, worked really well for that tool. Okay, that wraps it up for this video. If you liked this video, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you're interested in this machine, please shoot us an email. Otherwise, until next time, thanks for watching.